Catherine Mars joining me now. Catherine is a certified educational consultant. And first of all, I don't know what that even is, Catherine. Could you explain to me what a certified educational consultant is?
Sure. Well, there's an organization called the AICEP that certifies all of us to be certified educational planners. And that means that we can work with teenagers, helping them plan their future and plan their college path. And we help by finding the right fit and helping them talk about the reasonableness of majors and what to look for when they're looking at colleges.
Well, I wish I would have known that that was a thing before, because I have a son that just graduated high school. He graduates this coming Friday, but
oh boy, congratulations!
But he's done with school. We just had his graduation party this last weekend, and it poured the entire weekend. But it's okay. But so, what kind of things do you help people out with? How do you get people to, or how do you get these kids to know what it is that they really want to do?
Well, we have a career inventory that we use, but we also do it just by talking to them about what they've enjoyed in high school. What were their favorite subjects? What did they do with their time extracurricularly outside of the classroom? And we take that to help them find what they're interested in. And then the career inventory, it kind of shows us what their aptitudes are. And it's not a given. It's not an absolute guarantee, but you know, most likely 1 in 3 students changes their major their freshman year at least once. So it's not going to be cut in stone, because when you're 16, 17, you don't know for sure what you want to do. At least most kids don't. And a lot of jobs haven't even been created yet.
Oh, I hear you there. Could you imagine when we were kids, internet, they'd be like, what? Cell phones? What?
Yeah.
Networking? Huh? Any of those, none of those things existed when I was a kid.
Right, exactly. And the iPhone. And you think about the people who have to repair the iPhone now.
Right.
That didn't exist even 10 years ago.
Right. Well, Catherine, you know, my oldest son is 21, and when he started school, he goes, well, my friends are all going to be doing this stuff, and they're going off to 4-year colleges, and he went to a trade school, and I said, if you look at it, these guys that are going into 4-year colleges, that whatever it is that they're going for, I will bet you that most of those kids won't be doing what they're going to school for anyway in 20 years. I said, I look at my example of myself with radio. Of the 25 people I started school with, 17 of us graduated. I'm the only one left in radio.
Absolutely. Well, and I have a degree in anthropology. So, and this is my 3rd career. So I know that you can switch and do different things, and as long as you have learn how to think on your feet, that there are a lot of things you can do. So, you know, they say that a person that comes out with an engineering degree that did it because their parents encouraged them to do it, and it wasn't because they loved it. 20 years from that point, the kid who went to college with a liberal arts degree and was very passionate about what they studied will be making more money than the kid that's the engineer in 20 years.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think a lot of it too is lifestyle too, because if you love what you do, it's not really like you're working anyway. Is that
right? Absolutely.
Do you go through it? Do you help kids to come up with that too, to find out what their passions are?
Yes, we do. We do, and we try to help them when they're trying to figure out. Well, I don't really like community service, but I know I have to do it. And we say, okay, well, what do you like to do? What is it that you love doing? Well, for instance, if you like to ride your bicycle, if you are into bikes, bicycles, not motorcycles, and if you have a real passion for that, then start going around and collecting bikes that are being thrown away and repair them, and then give them to the poor kids who don't have bikes. And that's what one of my kids did when he was in high school.
And then it probably ended up being a passion and something that he continues to do now, I'll bet.
Yes, he took 7 bikes with him to college.
Wow. Catherine Mars joining us this morning here on today's Talk 1490. The reason I wanted to talk with you, Catherine, is there's an article a while back from Forbes about best value colleges. What makes a good value in a college?
Well, this is an interesting list. I think what makes a good value is your return on investment. You know, if you get into one of the Ivy League schools, and the price tag is $60,000 just for tuition, And even if you do have to take a little debt out to go to that school, it will be a good return on investment. You will get your money back, and the name will help carry you through. The network will help carry you through. If you live in California and you have the opportunity to go to Berkeley or UCLA, it's a great deal. If you don't live in the state of California and you have to pay out-of-state tuition, which is as much as a private university, then it may not be a good deal for you. So I think that this list is a great list, but in the top 10 schools they list on here, there are 5 of them or 4 of them that are state schools. I think 5. Yes, 5 of them. So I don't know that kids that live outside those states, that it's really a good value. Mm-hmm. But schools like MIT, Stanford, Harvard, Princeton, yes, those are very good value in my mind, even if they're very expensive, because the name carries so much weight.
So a lot of times it's like buying a Cadillac because it's a Cadillac rather than buying a Yugo.
Right.
Even though you're getting a vehicle, but you're just getting a better longer term value. Right.
And you have, a fabulous university right there in your state. I mean, University of Wisconsin is just outstanding, and it's on this list. It's number 78. And so there are a lot of kids who absolutely need to go to the University of Wisconsin but are going to come out with a great degree. Mm-hmm. But they should not, if they're going to major in English, take on loans. It's not a wise thing for an undergraduate degree.
No, wait, say that again. So if you're taking on English, don't take out loans? Why is
if you're going to take, because the return on investment is not going to be significantly great in the beginning. Uh-huh. Let's say that you major in English, but you don't really want to be a teacher. Well, I mean, I love teaching, but I wish we would pay our teachers more. So even if the student did go into teaching, if the student has loans, it's going to take a while to pay those loans back. If the student does not want to go into teaching and does not take advantage of the Career Center on campus and learn some skills while they're in college through jobs in the summer and internships, when they get out of school, they may be waiting tables or a sales assistant or something at a local department store. And when they do that, their loans are going to have to be paid back, and they're making just a little bit above minimum wage, possibly.
Right.
Those kids are not going to be able to buy houses when they're in their early 30s because they're still paying off their debt. Go ahead.
What's a good way to look at the how long it takes you to pay? I mean, so if it takes you 10 years, is that a good value? Or if it takes you 50, I mean, how do you figure out where the value is on your investment if if it's taking you 20 years to pay it off?
Well, if you look right now, there is $3.7 trillion in student debt out there. And some of that money is owed by people over 60. And that's just not right. And so when you ask me what do I think is a reasonable amount, well, I think you have to look at, what are the student's goals? Does the student plan to get married and have a family and buy a house someday? Well, if that's the case, don't take out much debt. Mm-hmm. I think $2,500 a year or $5,000 a year max. I mean, $20,000 in debt is a lot of debt. But I think that could be paid off in 10 years, hopefully. Mm-hmm. And they could buy a house when they're 32 or 33 or whatever. And that's still reasonable. But when you're talking massive debt, like hundreds of thousands or even 80,000, that takes a long time to pay it off.
Oh, yeah.
And if a student is going on to graduate school or law school, they will continue to incur debt plus have to pay debt as they're going. And that's just hard.
Catherine Mars joining us this morning, certified educational consultant. So when it comes to, I talk to a lot of my friends, and like myself included, with kids just graduating and whatnot, and the cost of education. Who should that burden of the education of post-secondary education be on, the student or the parent?
Well, I think it should be number one on the student. It's the student's education. But what you're really hitting on is a very sensitive nerve to me. Is that colleges do not have any ownership in the debt. They don't have any buy-in. They just want the kids to get the money so they can pay the tuition. They don't care how they get it. And there aren't any courses on how to manage your debt. Now, Texas Tech here in Texas does have a course it's called How to Get from Red to Black, which is kind of catchy because their colors are red and black. But they do talk a little bit about how to manage your finances when you're in college and how to start to consider paying off debt. Well, why doesn't every college do that? Because most colleges in the United States, there's only about one or two that don't take federal aid, so therefore they don't offer debt to the student. They give merit money. But what is really important is that students do need to know how to manage money. And first-generation kids, they don't have role models that can show them how you manage your money and pay off debt usually.
Right.
Because a lot of times their parents never face that. So the issue is the student goes off to college and has this sum of money, and they don't really get the picture about, oh, I'm going to have to pay this back. Oh, I need to really be sensitive to what I do while I'm here. I need to make good grades so I can get a good job. Employers look at grades. They look at your resume when you graduate. They look and see what your GPA was. If you don't have a strong GPA, then you may miss the really good jobs.
Catherine Mars joining us this morning here on today's Talk 1490. You know, sometimes I wasn't a great student when I was in high school. Then when I went to college the first time, I did okay. When I went to college as an adult, I did really well. But by then, I'd already had a career. I already have a career. So,
right?
Do grades? I mean, because honestly, I was always good at what I did as a job, but I just really, when I was a kid, I really didn't care that much about school. How do you teach that to a child?
Well, I think that it has to do with maturity. You think about what you said about, you didn't do well necessarily in high school because you weren't very focused. And when you went to college the first time, you were somewhat focused, but not great. And then as an adult, you were focused. So I think that what students need to look at and parents need to look at is that there oftentimes a gap year or a trade school would be a wise move for a student who is not into school, who does not see the value of learning certain courses. Like in high school, it's really hard anyway because you're forced to learn everything. You have to have this foundation. And they say, even if you don't like math, you've got to take math. Even if you don't like science, you've got to take it. And so, and the students who like science and math don't necessarily like English and history, but you need it. So when you get to college, you can start to narrow it down and take things you do like. But if you're not mature enough to get it, that this is important to you in your future life and as a interesting human being, then maybe you need to take time off and do something that requires more muscle than it does brain power. And that will help them, maybe, hopefully, see the purpose of going to college and getting good grades and learning the material.
And maybe helping somebody to realize that, wow, I don't want to be this person for the rest of my life. I want to do, I'd rather have a job that has air conditioning or something like that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I know my stepfather went to medical school because he had worked in the coal mines in Pennsylvania, and he says, I don't want to do that.
Right. And he became a doctor?
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's cool. Hey, I'm looking on your website right now, and Financial Aid 101 is one of the pages I popped onto because I think that we talked about financial aid a little bit ago and paying for college, but I think that every student probably, unless you've got a $1 million parent, that everybody's going to need to take out some financial aid of some sort in order to go to post-secondary college or whatever.
Well, what students don't realize is there is so much merit money, so much academic free money on the table out there. There's billions of dollars available to students who have good grades. There are schools out there that will take a B student because for them that would be a great thing at their school. So if a student is looking at engineering but needs money, then going to a smaller college that's not as well known, that does have a strong engineering program, and will give the student money, they should go there because they'll come out without debt, and the college will pay them to attend. So I always tell students, particularly my liberal arts bent kids that really want to go and study psychology or sociology or political science or French, I tell them, please, go where you can go for the cheapest. If necessary, go to a community college, get your associate's degree, then transfer to a four-year college and finish out your college degree. But make sure you take advantage of the Career Center. But many of these students will come out without debt because they had good grades. They were offered merit aid, merit scholarship money, and didn't have to take on debt.
So how do you, Catherine Mars joining us this morning from Mars College Admission Advisors. What's the first step that you guys take in order to help somebody to find that, to find those colleges that will pay somebody, to pay a B student rather than the top 3% of the class?
What I tell students and parents at the very first meeting when I meet them is I say you need to have a very frank conversation at home about, ask your parents, what is a reasonable amount of money to pay for me to go to college each year? And then when you find that out and you start looking at colleges, you look at the cost of attendance, so you see what they cost. And if you're looking at colleges that have big names, well, they're more than likely going to have big price tags. And the Ivies, for instance, don't give a merit aid because everybody who applies is really smart. So, you do look at that and you go, oh, goodness, my parents are willing to pay $15,000 to $20,000 a year to help me with college, but that means I've got to figure out how to get the other $35,000, $40,000. Well, if it's an Ivy, they may have to take out loans. But if it's not an Ivy, then they need to start looking at schools that maybe they're not as familiar with. There's a book called Colleges That Change Lives, written by a man named Loren, Loren Pope. And that book has amazing colleges in it, but they're small and mostly unknown. So, like in Appleton, Wisconsin, you have Lawrence University. Absolutely amazing school, amazing school. Well, they have incredible scholarship offers, merit scholarship offers for kids who meet their qualifications. And so not everybody, except maybe in Wisconsin, really have heard of Lawrence University. I mean, it is much more well-known than it used to be. Or Kenyon College in Ohio. Or some of these colleges are small liberal arts colleges that can offer an amazing education and pay students to come to their school. So the student who's looking at a school that's well-known, like a Vanderbilt or a Duke, but has the grades for a Vanderbilt or Duke, and applies to a Lawrence or to a Kenyon or to a Southwestern down here in Texas, those kids will be offered money to go to those other schools.
Really?
Whereas they won't be at Duke.
Now, when you say money, they're offered scholarship dollars or even living expenses?
Yes. Mostly, well, depends. I mean, there are scholarships that do include living expenses as well, but those are very elite scholarships that are usually offered through the school, but through a foundation that has been, given a lot of money to the school.
Oh, okay. Catherine, do you guys help people all around the country then?
Yes, we do. We'd be happy to.
All right. How do we reach out and how do we find out more about having our own educational consultant? Because, like I said, kids are graduating this coming weekend at all three of the high schools in La Crosse, and the local ones, other areas too, all graduating. How do we get our own consultant?
You go to Mars, MARRSCAA.com, and contact us through our website. We would love to help.
Very cool. Learned a lot already this morning, so I appreciate you being on the air with me this morning.
You bet. Love to. Thank you so much, Bob, for having me.
My pleasure. MarsCAA.com for more information to talk to Catherine Mars this morning, certified educational consultant.